Here on the Colour of Country Life, good to catch up again with the CEO of Wool Producers Australia, Jo Hall. How are you, Jo?
I'm well, thanks, Ricky. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. On Friday on our Country Viewpoint program, we look across all the commodities. It's a little bit of a rocky time for some of our wool producers in terms of the prices they're getting at the moment. All the more reason to sell the good message about our wool to the world.
Definitely, Ricky. Unfortunately, we are seeing the Eastern Market Indicator come back. It's been on a gradual decline over the last 2 weeks, so we need to be selling our good story so that we can see a turnaround in prices.
And I believe you might be catching up with some trade officials soon to help advocate that cause for buying Australian wool on the global stage.
We are, Ricky. We're hosting some departmental staff from the Department of Ag based in Canberra. These people are about to head overseas as part of the Agricultural Ministerial Councillor Network, and those guys are based in country around the world, and they don't just focus on wool, they focus on all ag products, but they are there to be promoting Australian products, both at a policy level and just at general trade relations. So we're really pleased to be able to host these guys so that they understand and can have faith in what we produce in Australia.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the credentials of Australian wool, we noticed that Australian Wool Innovation, they're selling to the world in a new ad campaign the sustainability of wool compared to the synthetic textiles that are available.
Yes, it is a great campaign, and it's one that we can really get some wins on for our wonderful product. I mean, we know that wool is biodegradable and it's fire resistant, odor neutralizing, natural, renewable, and durable. But we're now through this campaign telling the world about our environmental credentials, and particularly in comparison to synthetics and oil-based products.
Yeah, certainly so. It's quite coincidental. I'm wearing a wool-based shirt today here in the studio. Our air conditioning's all over the place, and I find whether it's too hot or too cold in the studio, wool is a great breathable product to wear as well.
It is, and I mean, something else that needs to be thought about and in terms of changing mindsets is that wool is just a winter fibre. It's not, because it has the insulating properties. It's trans-seasonal and can be worn all year round.
And speaking of those environmental credentials, I noticed AWI was also promoting with King Charles III now acceding to the throne. He's got a strong interest in the environment. They're hoping that maybe he could become a patron in a campaign for wool that he was running back in 2010 or thereabout as Prince of Wales to help more people get into wool.
Definitely. We're very lucky that we now have King Charles III as the patron for the campaign for wool, and it is something that he's very passionate about. He's really well known for his conservation approach and to many issues, and wool ticks a lot of those boxes, and I guess that's why he supports it.
And when it comes to wool itself, it is indeed a sustainable resource, keeps coming literally off the sheep's back, but it's something that's good for the environment in our local communities as well in terms of the use of pasture.
Definitely. It is a renewable product. It's also part of the carbon cycle. Wool is 50% organic carbon, so we just tick so many boxes in terms of eco-credentials. I mean, prior to the pandemic, consumers were becoming more aware of provenance and how their food and fibre was produced. But what we did see occur during the pandemic was people became much more aware of, buying well and buying once, and sustainability became the mantra. So I really think that now is the time for wool to be promoted under that lens, because as I said, we just tick so many boxes.
Yeah, it's a great point you make. My wife's late uncle, who passed away, had some wool products that he enjoyed wearing, and they're still in good nick, and I wear them today because I was a similar size to him. So even amongst adults, they can be a hand-me-down. They just last for so long.
Exactly. I think I read somewhere just recently that wool is 300% more likely to be recycled as a fibre compared to any other fibre. So it just lasts, and that's one of the key attributes in terms of sustainability is that, we keep using it, and it can be repurposed for many different things because it lasts so long.
And Joe, when you were talking about provenance there before as well, we checked in with you previously about the new sort of traceability arrangements. I know they exist in Victoria, but now the National Agriculture Ministers are going down that path. That's going to help advance the case going forward. But how is the sector handling this transition, I guess, to having a national traceability system?
So two issues around traceability for wool. One is the animal, which we've spoken about before, and I guess that's what you're asking about. So there's lots of work going on behind the scenes with industry and government, both at the federal and state level. So that's going to progress quite quickly, I think. And then on the wool side, we released a report last year about it was an independent report making recommendations to deliver a robust traceability system for the wool industry. So we have a steering committee that is working on implementing those recommendations or looking at how we implement them. So there's lots of things happening in the traceability space, both for the animal and the product at the moment.
Yeah, and the foot's been put on the accelerator on that because largely the concern about foot and mouth disease, and a final point that we are remaining foot and mouth disease free in Australia, just to make sure people don't get too alarmist about that situation.
Exactly. People were concerned, and they had every right to be concerned, but it was fairly manic there about 2-3 months ago with the identification or confirmation of foot and mouth disease in Indonesia. But the reality is foot and mouth disease occurs in around 77 countries around the world. We've kept it out for 130 years, and we're doing everything we can to keep foot and mouth disease out of our country.
Yep, let's hope it remains that way. Jo Hall, CEO of Wool Producers Australia, thanks so much for joining us today on Flow.
Thanks, Ricky.